Wonder Twin powers, activate!
Form of a pathetic-looking game that nobody wants to play. What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the meticulously maniacal Dr. Disaster. And one thing that ought to be quite heartening for those of us who have been unhappy with the state of the video game industry for the past decade or so is that, like a persistent case of chili farts, the people in charge have had no choice but to notice our discontent.
Oh, damn!
Now, whether or not they choose to do something about it is another thing entirely, but our complaints are being heard. Take the upcoming Wolverine game as an example. That game has released all kinds of trailers and footage from the game over the past few months, and people have let them have it with both barrels to the point that the higher-ups at the studio making that game are whining about gamers being big meanies. That may not be the same thing as having them actually listen to what we have to say and make changes, but taking notice is a good first step. I consider it to be a good sign that articles like this have been written in the past few days where the game journalists feel compelled to try to drum up sympathy for Insomniac. That means that we are getting to them, and they are left to simply beg people,
please make this stop.
In any event, that brings me to the game Horizon Hunters Gathering. Now, as you may recall, this is a live service game from the Horizon franchise under the PlayStation umbrella, which was announced earlier this year, and it was completely crushed by gamers for a variety of reasons. First of all, the character designs are just shitty as hell. Notably, among the few characters you can choose from, you have this big machungus of a woman here who is absurdly fat and yet moving around as if she's in great athletic shape, and of course, she also has a peg leg, because why wouldn't she? Or you could choose to play as this character here. The dude looks like a homeless person or something. I'm not trying to make fun of people who are in that precarious position, but I also don't want to play as a character that looks like this. People also derided the fact that this was yet another live service pile of dung. The criticism was vast for this game. In fact, I haven't found a single trailer or gameplay footage video that they've put out yet which was not ratioed like this one here, the announcement trailer that got blown out of the water.
Listen, punk. To me, you're nothing but dog shit, you understand?
Well, word has come out that the widespread dislike of this game has not gone unnoticed. It sounds as though PlayStation was very disheartened by the way that this game was received so badly that we are at the point that they are completely revamping the game from the ground up, and in fact, the people at Guerrilla Games are being given a deadline to either have the game ready to go in at least some capacity, or it is getting canceled. In other words, it sounds as though the voices of gamers are finally being listened to, at least to some extent. They may finally be acknowledging what ought to be the true nature of this relationship.
Yes, Master.
Alright, me hearties, some interesting context when it comes to this news that we are hearing about Horizon is the fact that this is certainly not the first time that we have seen a PlayStation game get utterly ridiculed by gamers when it was announced in the past few years and then get eventually delayed and altered and potentially shelved permanently. A few years ago, a trailer for the PlayStation title Fair Games was shown, and that was a game with a blatantly leftist progressive veneer that only the shittiest of shitlibs would be interested in playing. For cripe's sake, the tagline in that game was literally "Eat the Rich." It was yet another live service game, and as you can see from this trailer of theirs from the official PlayStation YouTube channel, it was utterly crushed by gamers. They hit 541,000 views on it, but look over here. The ratio was not quite 5,000 likes versus 68,000 dislikes. That is a ratio of around 14-1, and it was announced early last year that this game was getting delayed and they were trying to completely revamp it, and after playtesters decided they didn't like what they saw, the executive at that studio making that game was removed from her position. We heard a few months back that they are looking into all kinds of different ways to save Fair Games, which, for the record, I don't actually think is possible. If that game ever ends up being released, I imagine that it will go over about as well as Concord. But anyhow, there was talk that they are exploring an extraction shooter variant of the game and all other kinds of gameplay modes. This sounds extremely similar to what we are hearing about Horizon Hunters Gathering. After the Concord fiasco from a few years ago, I think it's safe to say that at least when it comes to live service games, we have PlayStation's attention. Anyhow, with that in mind, I would like to read through this article here from Kotaku, which discusses the Horizon situation. It is funny that several months ago, when this game was first announced, outlets like this one were writing puff pieces like this article here, where they tried to drum up interest in the game, but now they are forced to write stuff like this. I'll bet that stings for these guys. But anyhow, let's read what they have to say. Down here, the article starts off, "The Horizon multiplayer co-op game is struggling so badly that according to a new report in Bloomberg, its development is getting rebooted." Bloomberg reports that after a poor internal playtest showing in June, the developers at Guerrilla Games have worked to retool Hunters, stripping out live service elements and adding a story mode to create a smaller scoped game. While Bloomberg says Hunters Gathering isn't yet canceled, the team has until the end of the year to show they can turn the game around. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw out my prediction. This game will never see the light of day. I'm sure they already have resources allocated to this title for the current year, and they don't want to damage morale at the studio by outright canceling it and sending the message that the parent company doesn't believe in them and their ability to fix a problem like this. But let's just face it, nobody is expecting a miracle to get pulled off here, and I'm sure that Sony has already mentally written this game off. I could always be wrong, but that is my prediction. Concord was not only a costly mistake for PlayStation, but it was humiliating, and I don't think the executives would want to endure that ever again. That is especially true for a game under the Horizon franchise, which is, for whatever reason, a darling of the PlayStation brand. They really wouldn't want that franchise to be embarrassed in this manner, and honestly, I don't blame them. That's the sort of thing that is hard for IPs to bounce back from. Anyhow, Reading on, the article says, Horizon Hunter's Gathering was announced earlier this year and was billed as a tactical co-op action game that, visually at least, looked like it was Sony's attempt to have a game closer in style and tone to Fortnite, though it's been 4 years since Horizon Forbidden West released. Players eager for the next single-player entry in the Horizon franchise would have to wait until Hunters was complete, as that game was reportedly Guerrilla's main focus. Sony has been trying to crack the multiplayer nut for a while with mixed results. Helldivers 2 was a great success, and Marathon seems to be on its way up too. And I'm just gonna pause here and just post this shit really quick. This is the Marathon Steam chart numbers. They topped out at 3,500 concurrent players in the past 24 hours. But yeah, dudes, the game is totally on the way up. It was totally the biggest success ever, guys. This is just your friendly reminder that these clowns in the media are utter shills who will say the stupidest, most easily disproven shit imaginable to protect their masters. And no, that's not you, the potential audience, by the way. It is the corporate gaming industry. Anyhow, to finish it off, the article says, but Sony's road to the great games as a service money printing machine is paved with the corpses of canceled or sunsetted games and closed studios, including Bluepoint, the God of War live service game it was working on, Naughty Dog's Last of Us multiplayer game, Destiny 2, and of course, Concord. Hopefully, Horizon Hunter's Gathering won't end up being just another body to toss on the pile. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, Kotaku, but the chances are pretty freaking high that this game will either get the cancellation axe, or if it does release, I have a really hard time believing that it will succeed. If it releases, then the Concord trilogy will become the Concord quadrilogy. I am fairly certain, because nothing about Hunter's Gathering looks impressive or alluring in the slightest. Anyhow, make sure to hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it already. And if you're already subscribed, make sure that you are still subscribed to the channel. Lots of people tell me all the time they've been unwillingly unsubscribed, and also don't forget to follow me over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. But I'm gonna leave it there. What do you make of this Horizon Hunter's Gathering news? Drop your thoughts on all this into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching me, hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.